Page 6, On the Snow. I can't remember now what you've had and what you haven't in book 1. So when they present things in this book, I'm going to pretend like it's brand new, you've never had it before. And if it's a review, that's fine. No harm in reviewing, but I'm still going to explain it. At the top of the page, they're introducing a natural sign. It's a weird looking thing. It's like a hashtag that's not complete. It's had a couple lines chopped off or something. A natural sign simply indicates to play the natural note. On a piano, that would be the white key. Play the white key for the note. It's used in situations where if it were not there, you'd be playing a black key. And they don't want you to play the black key, they want you to play the white key, so they use a natural sign. That's all. I'll explain it more as we go through it. In the middle of the page, in the box, they talk a little bit about syncopated notes. Remember, have we not had? I can't remember what we've had. A syncopated note is simply when you play a note or an accent. It could be a note or an accent. When you don't expect it, or you don't play it when you do expect it. In other words, the unexpected is happening. It throws the rhythm off or the beat off slightly, temporarily. And that's syncopation. Been around since the beginning of music. It's always been, yeah, lots of syncopation. We'll get there. This is on pages, 6 and 7 on this book. 4/4 time. And we got, eighth notes and things. We'll talk about it. Let's start with the right hand to make sure we got the fingering and the counting down and so forth. Fingering shouldn't be a problem, except we got black keys. We got sharp notes in here. So right hand, you're starting out here, put you in here. The only finger number they need is the first one. You don't need 3 and 5 on there, because those are that's where you are. You're going to use those fingers anyway. Because when they do that, it's too easy to read finger numbers. So in my opinion, the only finger number for the right hand you need is the 1 at the very first note. You don't need any of these others throughout the piece. Don't read finger numbers. Read the notes. It's important. So here at the beginning, here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the first line done. Second line, measure 5. Remember the little numbers in the boxes or measure numbers? Okay. Now we have a D sharp. So instead of the second finger's on D, and instead of doing that, I'm simply going to play a D sharp. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that C's tight. That's why you do that. The rhythm throws some people. Well, when that happens, I say, well, take out the tie and play all the notes. 1 and 2 and 3, because then it tends to make sense. But when you have an idea of that, of how it feels, then go ahead and just put the tie in. Just hold the note down instead of playing it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that note, that C, that's a syncopated note, because we're expecting, right? And we play it early. We could have gone, and that's okay, that's not syncopated, that's what we expect. But when we play it early and we hang on to it, that's syncopation, okay? And then going on, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's go down to measure 11. We have F sharp, 1 and 2 and 1. Remember the rules for accidentals. It applies from that point on for the rest of the measure in that step. So that second F is also an F sharp. And the next one, oh, here we got 3 F's here. The F sharp carries for the rest of the measure, so the second F is also F sharp. And then they want an F natural, because if the natural sign were not there, it'd still be an F sharp, because the sharp still applies. But now it's a natural. They take the sharp, so it's 1 and 2 and 3. That's the way those work. Left hand. Now he's starting here, and again, the only finger number you need in the left hand is the first one, because you're not moving around, you're right here. And when you have a black key, you're going to use the same finger for the black key as you would be on the white key. So it's like they have F sharps in here, I'm just going to use the second finger for the F sharp. that doesn't work all the time, but it works for now. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the third measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now what's going on here? Well, again, in the third measure, the sharp applies for the rest of the measure, so both of those F's are sharped. But only that measure. So when we go across the bar line into the next measure, it's an F natural because the sharp doesn't apply anymore. They don't need a natural sign. Some publishers or editors will put in a natural sign anyway. It's called a courtesy sign, just to tell you, be sure and play this. But they don't have to, and they didn't here, so it's F natural. Then the broken chords, C chord. I'm just rotating here. I'm just rotating here. It's a very small motion. And I'm just rotating. It's like walking on the piano from one leg to the other leg, the one leg to the other leg, except that's all. Third measure, or measure 8 is 5/7 chord. That's okay. Measure 11, half notes, a D and an F sharp. 2, yes, it's still, and then. See, now they need the natural sign because it's in the same measure, so that. Put the hands together. Well, the first line they only play one at a time, so let's start at measure 5, the second line here. And when you first put the hands together, you're going to hesitate all over the place. Don't care. That's fine. Just try and get the hand. These are together, and these are together. There. 1 and 2 and 3. See, they don't play at the same time. Watch out. 1 and 2 and 3. See these? Well, they're not playing at the same time. Let's go to measure 11. They're here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Both hands are playing the same note, but they're using different fingers. That's the tricky. And that's putting the hands together. Then once you can sort of play it with the hands together, then go through it a few hundred times or whatever and get rid of the hesitation so it's a nice steady beat. You can go as slow as you need to go, it doesn't matter, but it's got to be a steady beat all the way through. No hesitations. And you really should get to where you can play this piece without looking at the keyboard. So you're feeling your way around the keyboard. It's important that you get a feel of the piano keyboard and when you're moving around where these keys are, even without looking. You got to look at first, but get to where you don't have to look. Then we'll add the articulation, the slurs. Now, a little bit about slurs. These curved lines of the notes, you don't always lift up before and after a slur. They're a general guide. Look on measure 4, these quarter notes. I'm going to connect all those together. And into measure 5, I'm going to connect it. There, I'm going to connect all those together. So I suggest for the left hand, you pretty much connect everything. For the right hand, you can. It's just a little lift up. It's like taking a breath. I'm just lifting up. Just lift up there. Where the left hand, you're not lifting up. Can you lift up in one hand and not the other? Let's go back to measure 5 here. I'm connecting this. Lift up in the right hand, but not the left. Again, lift up, but not the left. Keep the left hand down. And on measure 12, both hands are slurred. But going into measure 13, left hand I connect it. But the right hand I lifted up. See if you can do that. You're lifting up in one and not the other. If that's a hassle for you, then you'll have to lift up in both hands. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just I'm trying to get you to push you a little bit to start developing independence of the hands, where you're doing different things in the hands at the same time. So you add these slurring in. Really, they're phrases in the right hand, and the left hand I'm just connecting it pretty much. Then dynamics. Well, you're loud, whatever you think loud is. Loud is loud. It depends on the situation. Not super loud, just loud. And then measure 5. The dynamic applies to the melody. Well, in the first 4 measures, it's introduction. There isn't really a melody, so it's all the same. But measure 5 on, the melody's in the right hand. That's loud. Everything else is background. Keep it in the background, soft. Can you play loud and soft at the same time? It's a challenge, but again, we want to develop the ability to do different things in the hands at the same time. And this is one of the things we need to do. They don't give you any other dynamic in it, so the whole thing is loud. You can get a little softer occasionally and as you feel it, but stay on the loud side. Yeah. Then tempo, well, or speed, tempo, huh? March tempo means like a march. Left, right, left, right. If you're going to march it, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Or measure 5, left, right, left, right. It's about a march. On a metronome, a march tempo is about 120 in there. If you're looking to use a metronome with it, it's in that general area. It can be a little faster or slower than that, but that's generally where it is. And then they've added pedal. Isn't that lovely? You don't need pedal on this piece at all. The whole thing is fine without it. However, they've added it, and you're probably itching to use the pedal, so let's talk about it. Because if you're going to use pedal, use it for a reason, and know how to use it correctly, or just don't use it. Ugh. You can see their pedal markings. They're showing the pedal for the first 2 measures. And then on page 7, they're showing pedal again for measures 17 and 18, and then for the last measure. I don't really agree with the last measure, but they did it. And what we're doing here is we're adding overtones. That's the only reason we're doing it. We want the color, because it sounds different. Without pedal, it's this. With pedal, it's this. It's different, and that's why I don't like it. That's not the different I'm looking for in this piece. However, they're doing it, so okay. So push the pedal down. Now in this case, you can push the pedal down with the note. And the reason for that is we're loud, so we're just going to start the overtones immediately. But I'm lifting the pedal up with the hand, so there's a little silence between each measure. Again. Like so, and then I'll measure 17. This is the same thing exactly. And then in the last measure, go ahead and push them down with the notes and lift the pedal up with the hands. Well, and that's the pedal. Please don't try and copy me on these things. You got to make it yours. You don't have to go as fast as I go. You go your speed. Whatever you can play these 8th notes accurately and evenly, that'll be your speed. You can always come back and play it again later on and you'll be able to speed it up and do it better. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But make sure there's no hesitations. That's important. Now be careful. They throw a gotcha at you occasionally. A gotcha is a little tricky thing that'll get you if you're not watching out. In the last measure, the bottom of page 7, you're here. You're not playing the same notes. It's not like in the measure before where they're playing the same notes. In the last measure, they're not. The first note's the same, but these others are not the same note. So I got a D sharp here and an F sharp. It's because it's same notes, it would be that. Or, but it's not. They're different. Yeah, so careful. Now there's words to this. You can sing it if you want. I don't sing in my videos. Forget that. To me, singing just makes it a little more complicated because you got to learn it, and then you got to think about what words you're doing all at the same time you're playing it. To me, that makes it harder. But if you like singing, by all means, sing it. Yeah. I'd like to play it with you slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. Well, there's no dynamics anyway. I'm going to play both hands about the same. I want you to hear both hands, even just one hand at a time if you need to. But let's play it now. This is after you've learned it. Go ahead and learn it where you can play it without hesitations, and then play it with me and check that you're playing the correct notes. So I'll give us 4 counts. 1 and 2 and ready and go, and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and. And 4 and